This video will cover the topic multiplying complex numbers. Complex numbers are written in the form a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers and I indicates an imaginary element, making bi the imaginary part of the complex number.
I think I've heard of imaginary numbers before, but could we go over them again really quickly?
Okay, let's do a little review. Essentially, when we multiply an imaginary number by itself, we end up with a negative answer. We indicate imaginary numbers with I, which equals the square root of -1. This fulfills our definition of imaginary numbers because if we multiply the square root of -1 by itself, we end up with -1.
I think I remember now. So in this topic, we will be multiplying imaginary numbers together?
That's right. Let's take a look at an example. Say we're given -2i times the quantity -5 plus I, and asked to multiply, writing our answer in standard form.
Can we distribute like we would if the i's were variables?
That's exactly what we should do. We can distribute by multiplying the -2i by each term in the parentheses. First we multiply -2i by -5 to get 10i. Next we multiply -2i times I to get -2i squared. If we recall the properties of imaginary numbers, we remember that I squared is equal to -1, so we can rewrite this as 10i minus 2 times -1. We can then multiply -2 times -1, and we get 10i plus 2.
So that's it? That's our answer?
Well, almost. Standard form is written as a plus bi, so we want to write the imaginary term after the real term.
Okay, so our answer in standard form is 2 plus 10i?
That's right. Let's try another one. 3 minus 6i times 6 minus 2i. How do you think we should start?
This looks like something we could FOIL.
Right. It sounds like you know what you're doing. Why don't you work this one out?
Well, FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, and last. So if we multiply the first terms together, that's 3 times 6, which is 18. Then the outside terms would be 3 times -2i, which gives us -6i. Then the inside terms are -6i times 6, which would be -36i. And the last terms would be -6i times -2i, which gives us 12i squared. We said earlier that I squared equals -1, so we can change 12i squared to 12 times -1, which is -12. Now if we combine like terms, we get -42i plus 6.
That's great work, but we have one more step.
Oh, right. We need to put it in standard form with the imaginary term written last. So our final answer is 6 minus 42i.
Exactly.
Okay, so when multiplying complex numbers, we must remember that when our imaginary term I is squared, it equals -1. And our final answers must be in the standard form a plus bi.
It sounds like you really understand how to multiply complex numbers.